Hi, my name is Gordy Hogue, and this is Community Connection. Each of us have stories that help us understand each other and help to bring our community closer together. I have been very fortunate to have met many interesting people who've had a positive, profound impact on our community and far beyond. People who've had incredible life experiences and fascinating stories. Community Connections is about these people and about their stories. I'm sure you'll enjoy meeting these amazing people as much as I have. Thank you. Please enjoy. Welcome to Community Connections. Today's guest is Ronnie Paterson. He's a man who's made significant contributions to our community. His lifelong participation in sports has taught him about the power that sport can have in a person and a community's development. And he has used that knowledge and to positively impact many lives and many communities. Welcome, Ronnie. Thank you for being part of Community Connections.
Thank you, Gordy.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started in this world and the country and the sports you've been involved in and the impacts that you've seen those have and so many lives you've influenced and how sport has influenced your life.
Yeah, it really has. I go back, I guess I was probably about 6 years of age, Gordy, growing up in a farming community in Richmond. It's obviously changed considerably since then. Richmond did not have a hockey arena. And so the only opportunity to skate in any type of organized minor hockey was a hangar in Ladner, which was quite antiquated, and but it was sufficient. As much as I was passionate about the sport, my recollection is that they had the best French fries in any community. But it was great because my father died at a very, very young age. I was about 7 years of age, and I only share that because of the determination that my mother had. I had an older brother and an older sister, and she had to go out and start working for a living to provide for us. And we didn't go without anything. She made sure that all our needs were met. And when it came to hockey, as even in those days, hockey wasn't cheap, skates and those types of things. And then trust me to embark on the position of goaltending, which generated even incremental costs. But nonetheless, we all persevered, and my mother worked shift work, but I had a tremendous support group. If it wasn't for her mother, my grandmother who lived with us, I think life would have been far more challenging. But again, my grandmother provided us the principles and values in life that I think really provided me a foundation to grow and shape my character. And I look back and sport was so instrumental. And it wasn't just hockey. It was baseball, it was soccer, it was lacrosse, and swimming, all those activities. We as a young family, my mother gave us every opportunity to thrive in. So I look back in reflection, and it was really the upbringing that I had that allowed me to learn about the qualities of the sport. And I quite often share with my family today, if it wasn't for sport and more specifically the game of hockey, we wouldn't enjoy some of the resources and assets, and more importantly, the friendships that we now enjoy in our community.
How was it that you took an active interest in hockey when there was no arena in Richmond? It was what attached you to that?
Interesting, because our community was real small, and there wasn't not a lot of people playing the game of hockey, but I did watch it a lot on television. Wednesday nights, I think Hockey Night in Canada was there, and as well as Saturday for obvious reasons, but we just developed a real liking. And there was some kind of an inner circle of people that all played hockey, and so it emerged. And one quick anecdote is that, and it's interesting how you make choice in life, but I remember as I moved over to goaltending at about probably 10 or 11 years of age, I didn't really enjoy the position that much, but my coaches at that particular time, I guess they saw a certain skill set that they really thought I had an opportunity to grow in that position. And I remember I didn't really want to go to practice. I didn't want to play goal. I wanted to be a right winger. And anyhow, so I remember my coaches kind of tracking me down on my paper route to make sure that I was going to be at practice that evening. And anyhow, we all persevered, and including myself. And then you get reinforcement as life unfolds, and receiving accolades. And one thing led to the next. And the next thing I knew I was on the Canadian Olympic team in 1980, which in hindsight was certainly something that I will treasure. And we didn't make a lot of money, Gordy, through the game of hockey in those days, particularly being amateur, but the richness came from the friendships that I cultivated, that I enjoy to this day, including a lot of former professional athletes.
And so you played for the Sockeyes, and then in Richmond, and then moved on to UBC, and then on to the Olympic team. And you've talked a little bit about some of the people that influenced you in terms of that, some of the coaches out on your paper route and encouraging you. Can you talk about some of the people that were significant in inspiring you? And
yeah, sure. And I was blessed with, I look back and I know there's lots of noise around coaches these days in terms of behavior, but I look back in reflection, Gordy, and I had nothing but wonderful people who coached me. They not only taught me the skills of the game of hockey, but more importantly, they taught and influenced me in life skills. And right from minor hockey and junior hockey, I had a collection. Ron Matthews was a former gentleman in our community that has now passed on, but he was a former NHL player. He offered a certain dynamic and a wonderful man. And then I went to UBC, and a little bit more of a cerebral, educated environment, I suspect. Our coaches were professors, and that was a wonderful experience. And so it was really my experience at UBC, which was a wonderful brand of hockey, and integrated with, I think it was CIAU at that particular time. I think it's CIS now, but nonetheless, I had a great start to my academic hockey career there. And that's when the Olympic program opened up to opportunity. In those days, it was just amateurs. So whether you were from college or junior, you had an opportunity to try out for the 1980 Olympic program, which was going to be held in Lake Placid. And I'll get to that in a second. So then my next window of opportunity, quite frankly, was really developing a tremendous relationship and rapport with Father David Bauer, a Catholic priest who was very, very instrumental in not only the game domestically, but internationally. And so he became my mentor, and he was a gentleman that really created opportunities and kept things in perspective. He was a tremendous teacher on the ice, but a great coach off the ice, if you will. And I remember traveling. We had a wonderful chance to travel internationally for a good 2 years with the program, and it was a wonderful experience. And Father Dave really made sure that we had the opportunity of experiencing all the various cultures along the way. He knew what our commitment was in the arena, but he also made sure that we took full advantage of growing and learning and developing and experiencing some of these countries and cities as we built the program leading up to February 1980. So in looking back at the hockey portion of my life playing, it was just, didn't make a ton of money, but in quite honesty, that wasn't the objective. I got everything I could possibly get. And then when I finished playing, I was 27 years of age, I believe. And that's when I wanted to put back to the game. I got a lot out of it, and I leveraged every chance I had, and I really wanted to put back. And that's when I got into coaching minor hockey at 28 years of age. And so arguably I was only about 12 or 13 years older than the athletes or the children that I was coaching. So that was an interesting dynamic to provide that level of leadership. And 15 and 16-year-old kids it's a wonderful age. I mean, they're growing rapidly both on and off the ice. And so I got into coaching that particular time, and then coached for a number of years and tried to put back into the various communities that we lived in. And then I was working at Molson Breweries and ended up getting transferred, and fast forwarding, and ended up having children, and then got back into coaching. And that was a a really, really fun dynamic too. I'm now coaching my children, which was a real rich experience. So all in all, it was tremendous.
And then you got into at UBC. I think you studied education.
Yes.
Of education.
Yeah. Interesting enough, I look back, and grade 11 and grade 12 were arguably at that particular time the most enjoyable time of my life. And I thought, you know what, I really enjoyed the curriculum, but the only way I was really going to get back into it was to become a teacher. And so I went to UBC and achieved my Bachelor of Education, which was a fun experience, and played hockey, as I've alluded to. And then I was working part-time in the summertime for Molson Breweries through our connection with the Olympic team in Vancouver. And they offered me a job full-time. And I remember at that time, I thought, you know what, it's a fun industry. And maybe what I'll do is I'll go do it for 2 or 3 years and then come back and exercise my degree. Well, 25 years later, still in the beer business, but nonetheless, the beer business was a wonderful industry. It was lots of fun. It was dynamic. I did lots of coaching and mentoring because I became a kind of middle manager, if you will, in the early stages of my career. So I had an opportunity of helping lead teams and mentor sales reps as well. So I was able to enjoy that element of the degree that I was really focusing on. So it worked out pretty well.
And then from there, you became an entrepreneur and started developing your own businesses and work in that phase?
Well, yes. And, you know, there was other opportunities back east, and it was 2004, and we knew that the industry was changing rapidly, and it didn't necessarily exercise the skill set possibly that I was kind of providing. And so Kathy and I and my family, we sat down at length and discussed the opportunity. And I always felt I had this entrepreneurial spirit that I wanted to exercise. And we thought, well, you know what, maybe this is the window of opportunity. So in 2004, I elected to leave the company, which was a very, very difficult decision, but made it. And we embarked on a whole new family career, and we've enjoyed that as well. So it's, I feel very fortunate and blessed that everything that we've done as a family has certainly worked out favorably.
And certainly your family's been very supportive, as you have for them, and certainly Kathy's participation in all of that has been instrumental in helping those connections with the community, and your 2 sons have picked up and participated in with hockey and growth through hockey as well.
Yeah, I think looking back, we recognize what sport has provided us as a family, and the integration into our community and the friendships that we've cultivated. It really has been instrumental in shaping our entire family dynamic. And so I look back, and yes, tremendous support, even in the hospitality side. Kathy and I have been married for 32 years, and she was very supportive, and the hospitality industry in those days was very demanding in terms of the numbers of hours. The sociability was sometimes extensive, and the commitment of hours was also excessive. But a tremendous amount of support by she. And we would never been able to do it without that level of support. And then as we embarked on more hockey initiatives, again, got that family support. And I think everybody recognized that this was always a big part of our life. And we continue to enjoy elements of that.
And then that gave you the opportunity to, again, give back by purchasing the Richmond Sockeyes, the team that you'd played for, and being able to contribute back in that fashion as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it was Junior B model is a great model, and I've really enjoyed that. And it was really wanting to, again, in the spirit of putting back into the community, Gordy, was to continue to offer athletes and children and young adults from the age of 16 to 20 a vehicle or an opportunity to continue to play the game, to continue to go and be inspired and go to the gym and continue to work both on and off the ice, continue to develop life skills through the game of hockey. So that was my commitment to the community, to make sure that we continue to provide those types of programs so these kids could thrive.
And so that happened. And then how many years did you have the Richmond Sockeyes before you moved in?
I was part owner of the Sockeyes for about 8 years, and it was a wonderful experience. I mean, it was a community that I grew up in, and I played all my minor hockey and junior hockey, and so the connection was very, very strong. We have the majority of our businesses in Richmond, so I really, really enjoyed that experience. Then the opportunity, as you know, we live in South Surrey, and we're very connected in that community, and an opportunity became available to bring Junior B into White Rock. Now, White Rock used to have Junior B hockey on a Centennial Arena, as you know, but this was a chance to bring it back. And the White Rock Whalers were founded again a couple of years ago, and it's been fun. It's an enjoyable program. We make sure that one of our core strategic planks is to associate and align ourselves with quality people. And I think we've over-delivered against that, because whether it be volunteers or corporate partners, or it's just a wonderful experience. And at the end of the day, we again allow arguably 22 athletes to continue to play the game that they love in one of the best communities in North America, in White Rock.
And your participation in that, and you've also participated in Kidsport and been active in the role that Kidsport has. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what Kidsport does and the roles that you've played in that, and how the community has really come out and supported the philosophy that you've had, that sport is so important in the evolution and development of people and communities.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't preface it by thanking you, because you're the one that tapped a small group of us on the shoulder a number of years ago with Pete Quevelin, and wanted to develop a new chapter in Surrey, White Rock. And I didn't probably realize all the mechanics of what Kidsport could provide a community, but it's been just a tremendous fit, not only for the community, but for my family and everybody we have a tremendous proactive board. And it's really, really exciting to be able to make a difference in the community where we're maybe less good at governance, but we're really, really good at raising money. And what that, the opportunity that creates, obviously, is for children to be able to play organized sport when otherwise their family would not be able to afford that chance. And, what I've been chatting about the last half hour is how sport influenced my behavior, my characteristics, my personality. And if we could just have a small little influence on these young athletes in our community, I just think that sport is such an integral part of somebody's upbringing. And whether it's teaching you leadership or teamwork or work ethic, but it's the friendship that I've been able to enjoy over the last 5 or 6 decades to really recognize how important sport is to individuals.
Can you talk about a couple of the examples so that people get a sense of what Kidsport does in terms of, I think there are some athletes who would not have been able to participate at all in sport.
Yes, absolutely, Gordy. We, and in the spirit of raising funds, I know you've been there many, many times, and it's the Night of Champions, and we do that on an annual basis. And who knows what the future is going to allow us to execute down the road with this pandemic. But we've been able to bring together 230, 240 key influences in our community. The MC, as you know, is Jim Houston, who is instrumental in our chapter in raising the funds. And where I'm going with this is that each and every year, we bring in a recipient of Kidsport in our chapter, and we get them to share their story. And quite often it's the athlete and one of the parents. And, it's just so moving and so touching to see how important, and at a very young age, these kids realize that without the contribution and the dedication of Kidsport, they wouldn't be given that chance. And so that's the opportunity that they have to illustrate their appreciation. And sometimes it's emotional. I remember an RCMP getting up and talking at one of our Night of Champions, and he illustrated, how instrumental Kidsport is and sport, and that he's taken people like literally off the street and associated them with Kidsport, and they were able to get back into organized sport through our chapter. And so that's what's so meaningful to us and so important as we try desperately to make a small difference in our community.
And you've brought a number of professional athletes out to the Night of Champions, and they've become role models. And I've seen many of them interacting with a number of the youths that are there. And I think that's also added something. Can you talk about the contributions that these people have made, Jim Hewson and so many others?
Gordy, I go back the very first year, we had Trevor Linden, and he's hard to get. But you know what? When we told him the cause, he was right there. The following year, I remember we had Brian Burke, who was at that particular time the general manager in Calgary, and Brian was there without hesitation and paid his own way, paid his own accommodation. On behalf of our chapter. And then the other example that I'd be remiss if I didn't articulate was Travis Green a couple of years ago. Again, now this gentleman, who's obviously the coach of the Vancouver Canucks, has a very, very busy schedule. And it was kind of early February, but again, when we got to him and presented what we attempt to do in our community, he embraced it and continues to talk about it to this day. So it's really cool that these people, who a lot of people in the community don't really know and only have got to know them through media, they really got to get a chance to see a little bit of intel and some things that kind of behind the scenes, and they share their story, which is always really compelling as well.
And I think you've had professional athletes from the BC Lions, from the Whitecaps, a number of them that come out, and again, role models, and they tell their story.
Yes.
How they've grown up.
Yeah, and it's really inspiring because like Jeff Courtnall was there last year, and Jeff's family has dealt with mental health issues, and so he was able to equate that illness with what sport represented to he and his family over the years. Obviously, a storied past in terms of being a professional athlete, but he brings it down, and it was the grassroots of the game of hockey that was really instrumental in terms of developing self-esteem and doing things that really allowed him to overcome some of those core issues that he was experiencing as a younger athlete.
So you've talked a lot about the impact sport has had on you, and then the relationship you've had with a number of these professional athletes from a myriad of sports. Can you sort of encapsulate in a few words or many words the impact that sport continues to have in our community, how important it is, and how important it is that we continue to access it in terms of the evolution and development of people? You've talked about mental illness and some of the challenges people have had and how sport have helped with that. But it seems like the value you're continuing to talk about is the relationships that develop through the context of sport and the impact that they have. Can you talk a bit about that?
Sure. They, in society now, I mean, everybody experiences so many challenges, and everybody's much busier, and we have internet, and we have everyone's on cell phones and technology, and which is the reality of life, I suspect. But when it comes down to some of the characteristics that young people develop, I really firmly believe it continues to be sport that's so instrumental in terms of developing respect and trust and friendship and self-esteem and all those things that you get. And so I think from where I've come from and now to be able to put back in particularly Kidsport and be given the opportunity to promote sport, regardless of what it is. It doesn't have to be hockey, obviously. It can be any sport in terms of fitness, in terms of overall wellness. That's what sport offers. And I think it just provides a really, really healthy balance to someone's upbringing and family dynamics when they're given the chance to play athletics and getting some of these characteristics that these sports provide in terms of compete level and some of the things that you don't acquire unless you're given these types of experiences in life, and sport provides that.
And I know that our news reports on television talk about the news, weather, and sports. But one of the interesting things I think that you've done with Kidsport is you've brought a recognition of the importance of culture as well as sport and culture and music, and you've brought a number of young people from schools who who have been part of that, who've done little plays and anecdotes. And I think that's been really expanded the whole notion of that connectedness that you're referring to, and how it's not just sport that does that, but sport, because it gets that high profile, how you've used that to move into culture and music. Can you talk about how that happened and some of the similarities?
Yes, I can. In fact, I've really got to give Jim Hewson most of the credit there, because he loves music, and it was we wanted to keep the kids theme for obvious reason, but we wanted to expand from sport to let people know that there's other ways of developing character and some of these other characteristics. So we wanted to make sure. So we reached out to the curriculum, and we have children performing, and we have drama classes participating, we have music classes participating. So we wanted to make sure that it wasn't the individual that we were inviting to the Night of Champions that garnered the energy and the attention in the community. We wanted to make sure the event was what we were selling. We wanted to make sure it was Kidsport and the participation of children. And I really believe, talking to the people in our community, that we've done that, because it's one of the easiest selling jobs that I've ever had in my life, is to sell out our Night of Champions, because that's something that our board of directors are extremely proud of, Gordy, that we have that chance to put back. And it's very, very gratifying for us as a board to be able to execute those types of events with many, many volunteers that dedicate numerous hours to make that event happen. But again, it's such a fun event, and we don't look at it as a lot of work involved, even though there is. It's a labor of love. And at the end of the day, when we generate $120,000, $130,000, whatever it is, we don't even target a number. We just let the event unfold, and we know that we're going to enjoy a lot of success. It's going to be high energy, and people will leave Hazelmill Golf Course with some fond memories of Kidsport.
With all the activities that you have and your engagement in our community and so your businesses in Richmond, how do you find some balance in your life? How do you keep yourself grounded through all of that activity and get yourself feeling comfortable with things and taking some time for yourself?
Well, it's funny, Kathy and I were laughing not too long ago, and unfortunately it was at the start of the pandemic that really forced, I think, everybody to get off that proverbial life treadmill, including ourselves. And I learned for 6 or 8 weeks kind of how to live a different lifestyle. Kidsport wasn't around. Hockey had come to a standstill. So all the initiatives, we just had a little bit of work. The pubs were closed. So it really was an opportunity and a vehicle for us to enjoy a whole different element.
Ronnie, you seem to have disappeared from the picture here. So I'm not sure what happened with a bit of a breakdown, but I want to thank you. So you're back.
Yeah.
You disappeared there.
So yeah, so the life during the early stages of the pandemic was really something that allowed us to experience something a little bit differently. And, we got off that treadmill and did some things. And so, but I think it's important that you take quality time for yourself and your family, and make sure that you have that balance, because, you're getting pulled in lots of directions. Life is very, very busy, and we like it that way. It's always been that way. It's that way for our children now. And we're proud of that, but you do have to implement a balance so that you look at your overall wellness and make sure that you're doing the right things.
And now you've got another generation of Patersons coming along. Yeah.
Yes, Miles West Paterson is our proud grandchild that came into our world on the 8th of June, so just over a month ago, and everybody's happy and healthy, and the grandparents, the Wesleys and ourselves, couldn't be any prouder.
And so that adds to, again, another set of values for another generation, and some of the values that you and the Wesleys have reflected in your contributions to our community.
Yes, well, I said that, Troy, the ice is going back in Centennial Arena next week, so Miles should be starting to prepare for a new endeavor. But yeah, you know what? I look forward to the time I hear wonderful grandparent stories as their grandchildren grow and develop in their respective lives. And we're looking for the same opportunity, but we're enjoying every day. The pandemic has kind of presented us some challenges in seeing him as often as we would like, but nonetheless, we will all persevere, and the time will come where we'll enjoy his growth and development. And who knows, hopefully one day he'll take him to not necessarily the hangar in Ladner, but Centennial Arena would be a fun time to go watch him develop hockey skills.
So as a grandfather, other than the hockey skills, what are the things that you've conveyed to your children, to your contacts, that you expect will be an important part of your role, your new role as a grandparent?
I think, yeah, I'm hoping that not unlike what we shared, kind of the life principles to our children, Gordy, would be more of the same, respect and trust, and you know, making sure that you grow and learn and endeavor and look at things, and life is your oyster, and making sure that you make the right choice when it comes to making difficult decisions, but realizing that there's a tremendous support group around you, not only your immediate family, but our community. And that's, I think, really what can help shape behavior and characteristics as family and friends and community and sports. And so I'm hoping that, not unlike our children, I'm hoping that Miles and other grandchildren that we may have really embraces those elements of life that can really be instrumental and enriching in terms of building his or her lives.
And those are the same values that you've epitomized with your role in Kidsport and trying to convey that more broadly to our community. So on behalf of our community, thank you, Ronnie. Thank you and your family for all of the work that you've done, for the contributions you've made, for the values that you reflect, and particularly those values of compassion and caring for everyone in the community and making available to them some opportunities that might not have otherwise been made available to them. You've certainly done a great job in our community in providing those opportunities. And thank you so very much for being a part of Community Connections.
Thank you, Gordy. It's been an honor participating. Thank you very much.
So thanks again to our listeners and our watchers. And thank you, Ronnie. And I hope everyone out there takes from the example that Ronnie set, that we keep connecting, keep caring, and keep ensuring that our community is progressive, positive, and that we provide opportunities for everyone within it. Keep connecting. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today on Community Connections. Please tune in to our next show as more amazing people share their wonderful stories. If you haven't already, please click on the red subscribe button below, right down there, and view our updates. Feel free to leave any thoughts or comments that you may have. We're always trying to do a better job of connecting this wonderful community. Thanks again for joining, and until next time, keep connecting. Thank you.